Well, guys, thank you so much for listening today. We're here with Peter, the co-founder of Zoco. Peter, we're super excited to hear your story, and I'll let you hop right in. Tell me from the beginning here.
Thanks, John. Yeah, so we got our beginnings way back in 2006, which seems very long ago, but kind of a few different companies uh, from that point. The first company we started was Safety Magnets, and Safety Magnets was kind of came out of the fact that we had our first child, and we do what a lot of new parents do, which is they go and they take first aid training and they tell you how to do first aid. They tell you how to do CPR, maybe they tell you how to do burns, poisoning, prevention, etc. And then back then, what they would do is they would just give you a brochure or something, a flyer on how to do it. And we were like, okay, well, yeah, but we're just going to lose this flyer. Like, we need something more permanent. So my wife came up with the idea for a safety magnet, which was basically a refrigerator magnet, which you could have CPR instruction on, and we started handing it out to the neighborhood. And then what we realized was that hospitals and real estate agents and a lot of other businesses would use it by putting their logo and say, hey, compliments of XYZ company, and it would be a great promotional product. So that journey took us through until about really until about 2015. And I was working full time in sourcing and supply chain for corporate America. So we were kind of doing it as a hobby. In 2015, Amazon really started to take off, and we decided to join the party in 2015. It was very easy. The revenue definitely increased. We probably went up to from maybe $200,000 or $300,000 to $600,000 or $700,000 in the course of a year or two. And we realized that safety magnets was kind of a limiting term. So we wanted to offer other things besides refrigerator magnets that also offered safety instruction and health and wellness. So we came out with Zoco products. Our daughter is named Zoe, and so it came out to be Zoco products. And now we could get into other things like posters, and we actually started working with coloring books. And these coloring books are kind of what we call theme-based coloring books, which we'll go into, I'm sure, in a little bit. Anyway, so fast forwarding through 2021, things got really busy. I quit my corporate job, um, and now we have like 1,500 SKUs, different variations of posters, coloring books, decals, slide charts, all kinds of related stuff. So it's kind of how we've journeyed from yesterday to today.
Man, that's super cool, super cool. So, what were you doing before this? What kind of corporate industry were you in?
I was in mostly large corporations. I was in a high tech company. Um, I used to actually work for Intel, and I was living in Arizona back when Intel was kind of relevant. Um, they were kind of the Google of the 90s, along with Microsoft. And I really learned a lot in that culture. And then I joined a couple of other big corporations, always in sourcing and supply chain, lots of different commodities and equipment and various things. Um, and so I learned a lot about um, negotiation and contracts and sourcing strategies, all during that time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you kind of learned some skills on how to kind of structure systems and whatnot to make sure things go well. So, what kind of skills did you take from your corporate experience, and how have you applied that into Zoco?
Um, Lots of different things. I would say I'm a pretty data-driven guy, and you really have to be if you want to do well in this business, in my opinion. Um, you know, Sometimes I'm probably too analytical to a fault. Uh, you, but that came out of the culture, really. Mentioning Intel, I mean, every decision is data-driven, or was in the time from Intel. So and Amazon, grew up on the back of the Microsofts and the Intels, and they learned to be extremely data driven. So if you're dealing with Amazon, if you don't understand the data, then you can't make an argument when Amazon gets you into trouble, or if you want to do well and take on one of their programs, they're going to be, one of the trappings of Amazon is they're going to offer you all kinds of different tools and services that you think you might need. But if you don't have the ability to look at what it's really going to do in terms of ROI and benefit, then you're going to be lost, and they're going to take advantage of you. Honestly, the other thing I would say that I learned from these big companies was problem solving. Um, there's formal ways of doing problem solving, whether you're using Six Sigma tools or Lean tools. Um, Really understanding that there's a process. If you talk about things like root cause detection analysis and failure mode effective analysis, they're going to teach you, they're going to show you how to go about the stages of solving a problem and how to put controls in place so that they don't happen again. I think a lot of times, you know, I deal with people and they say, "Oh, hey, we solved the problem," and I'm like, "Well, you didn't really solve the problem. You're solving a symptom of the problem. You didn't really get to root cause." So a lot of that is my DNA. I learned again. I probably, you know, to a fault, can sometimes it can be jarring to people, but that's just the way I'm geared, and my people that work with me uh, closely know that.
I like that. I like that. So, where did you first launch the Zoco product?
Well, safety magnets was launched first, and then again, that was we had found a distributor site that we joined that had a lot of suppliers involved that we could use their products and easily order. I mean, one of the kind of naive things back then um, was really understanding what it meant to be a distributor. I think at the time, I had worked with distributors before, but I think a lot of people don't realize that there's somewhat of, maybe not as much today, but there's somewhat a hidden universe behind us. When you're as a consumer and you go online and you buy something, um, there's going to be an intermediary somewhere, probably along the line, whether it's a reseller or a wholesaler or a distributor. And so it's not like they're going to be advertising the price that they pay from their own supplier. They're getting it from China, et cetera. So breaking down that distributor model is important. But anyway, to answer your question, we started on a private hosting site for distributors, and then Zoco came along 2015, 16 timeframe, and we had our own website that was also hosted by this distributor side I was mentioning, and then Amazon was the next big marketplace, and then from there Shopify started in 2020, I think. Um, and that's basically that.
Yeah. Where's your if you would like switch it between percentages between Shopify, are you in any retails?
No, we're not in any retail. We've been, people make comments or suggestions about that, but not yet.
Yeah, well the
Our
profit margins are way better on Shopify anyway, but so how would you say is most of your work come from Amazon or Shopify, most of your orders?
Oh, Amazon's the big dog. Our revenue on Shopify is doubled in a year, so it's growing, but it's still maybe 10% of the total revenue is
Yeah.
coming from Shopify. Most of it is still the big dog, and everybody that has everybody that's an Amazon seller of any means knows that they need to you know
What's the most amount of revenue you guys have generated?
we're over the million point and we're hopefully trending towards two. This is the biggest year we've had uh, for revenue. Profit keeps going up, but I think the challenge with Amazon is that they have really increased their fees, and they've done it in kind of a sinister way, if you will. They add things that you're not even always aware of. So there's the number of fees has increased as much as the actual fee itself. So there's a lot of hidden stuff in there. Probably the biggest thing has been more product. My wife is very good at creating new things. I would say that has been a big there's no there. That's the biggest. Other things after that are kind of a collection of different things. So, for instance, we just hired a new advertising agency for our pay per clicks on Amazon, and that's been working really well this year. That was about 6 months ago. We've hired a couple of people or a person to manage the Shopify site, and that has helped. And she's now working within the Amazon site because Amazon's getting bigger. Um, well, the other big thing is we've gotten a lot more business customers. So one of the things that people may be a little bit surprised about. I mentioned these coloring books before. These coloring books are like the kind of coloring books that you see when you go to the doctor's office with your kid and they're playing with, why is the doctor here to give me a shot? Or if you go to the local fire department and they're handing out like, how do firemen, help put out fires or whatever. So we have 130 of these different topics. And so businesses take these things like the doctor's offices, the fire departments, the community events, and they put them on, you know, they hand them out. They put their logo in front of them and they hand them out, compliments of whomever. And that's a great thing. And they're reasonable, they're affordable. So they're normally, within the range of 50 to 60 cents. Excuse me, I should take that back. They're normally in the range of about $1 or so. And so what can you get for $1 these days? And so we have made the argument that, what's better to have as a promotional product? Would you rather have something like a door hanger that the real estate agent puts on your door and you just throw it away afterwards? Or would you rather have, a safety magnet that's going to like CPR and stay on your refrigerator and last forever? And the same thing with coloring books. In a different way, it's that, we're teaching as much as these kids are having fun, learning about the environment or learning about why bullying is bad, or, learning about why it's important to, you know, um, understand what policemen do. It's something, color. It's not on you're not on your phone. It's, how many games are there these days that are not on phones? Not many. So getting back to basic coloring is fun. And then we also have these for adults too. So kind of stress reduction coloring books, oceans, patterns, nature. So it's a good getaway event. And most of our customers like us. You know, I hear from my other sellers, and this is another thing that's really helped us with sales, is we're part of a mastermind group or a network that's really, we joined that this year, and it's a private group, and they really help us. You can either commiserate with other sellers or you learn tips or both. But a lot of them are just, not liking life because they sell products that are, apparel or supplements or whatever, that customers are not always, they're not always happy. If you take something like, CPR or what to do for a natural disaster or whatever, um, people enjoy the product. They say, "Hey, thank you very much." They're goodwill people and they're goodwill products. So
Mhm.
anyway, that's a little bit answering your question.
Yeah, I like that. Tell me more about this mastermind. I know one of the best ways to learn is just having mentors, peers, people that are more experienced than you. Um, Tell me how that's impacted your business.
So we joined the $1 Million Sellers Club, or club. I don't know what they MDS, earlier this year, and by the name, you have to have sold more than $1 million. But um, they're just a very there's about 700 of us, and they are very unassuming. No one's arrogant. No one is full of themselves. No one's trying to push, new software on you. Um, and so the you can ask any questions. You can, you get real feedback from real sellers, uh, and yeah, it's incredible. I mean, we've we get together a couple of times a year as well. So that's kind of what that's about.
That's super cool. What's one of the biggest lessons you've learned from that?
Um, Other than you're not alone, you could, being a seller on Amazon or really any marketplace in e-commerce, you can definitely feel like you're alone fighting these big marketplaces. And, so the ability to commiserate should not be underestimated. Um, in terms of stuff that I've learned, I've met a lot of other sellers that sell large numbers of SKUs and how they handle the processing of that. So inventory management,
Mm.
forecasting, um, how they sell their strategies. Uh, a lot of things on Amazon. This is the other thing is that Amazon's going to have if they even have a policy, let's say, you know, whatever on inventory management or on dispute resolution. There's the policy, and then there's really what happens. And so if you just read if you're a new seller and you just read the policy, you're going to be like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm not going to get a refund. But then there's the reality of it, which is just not known. And I'm not saying Amazon's doing it maliciously. I think it's just that Amazon's so big they can't update their policies fast enough, and they can't fix their system. So unless you have a network that can help you out and has seen that problem before, you're going to make a mistake. Uh, so that's another piece of information.
I like that. I like that. So what's your next 5 year, 2 year horizon goal?
Uh, it's we want to get to 2 million, and I think we're going to do it. I think it's a bit of a slog right now. The the goals are, number one, we want to do a lot more custom product. Um, so our average, we kind of have this bifurcation in the sense that we have products that are right in the $15 to $20 space, which are the posters and the consumer-based products. But then we have the business side, which is 40 to 50% of our revenue. Again, these promotional products, and they can sell in the hundreds of dollars. So you can buy 1,000 safety magnets, um, for $800, and those are big deals. People want to have their logo on it, um, and they're repeat business. So we definitely want to create more custom products, on all kinds of topics. We're here in 2025. Refrigerator magnets are still popular, and people still want to have instruction in front of them, and they don't want to always reach for their smartphone to find it, and they want to teach their kids and babysitters and stuff where to find it. So that business still is growing, and Amazon is actually, although they've been behind, I think, in terms of how they. I mean, you can buy T-shirts and mugs and stuff on Amazon and get your name on it, but the actual business customers that I'm talking about, Amazon's still not up to places like, you know, um, Vistaprint or some of the other big promotional product companies, which I won't mention. But they, Amazon doesn't compete well with them yet, and they're getting better at it. And so we want to ride that wave when it happens. The other thing we want to do is find some distributors potentially. We already have a few. So if you're a distributor out there and you want to sell our stuff or a reseller, contact me and we'll get you worked out. Hopefully, work out a deal. But we know distributors are happy with our stuff, and so we want to find that. Um, the Another marketplace, we're doing well on Shopify. There are other marketplaces. You had mentioned retail. Could we get into a Costco or a Walmart with maybe some of our products and selling them in bulk? Companies that need to get uh, you know, CPR magnets, for instance, because they have, offices and they want to have it on every kitchen, so they buy a pack of 50, or coloring books. That could be another pack for daycare centers. They say, I was just going to buy it at Costco. So there's opportunities there. Those are the revenue things. I think, the cost side of the business is probably is equally as challenging. Uh, because again, Amazon is stripping out 50 to 60% sometimes of your
Yeah.
revenue.
Yeah, Amazon takes such a big cut. That's why like Shopify is just so much better. And not though, but because like I mean, Amazon is a kind of a necessity these days, and it's hard though to be as profitable on Amazon. It's nice because Shopify you can do some different bundles and some different deals, some different custom, stuff. But then also Shopify wants to be the cheapest, if not the best price compared to your website. And so how do you navigate trying to in your future trying to drive more sales towards your Shopify store instead of on Amazon so you can save that 40%.
Yeah, it's been tough. Honestly, John, it's one of the toughest things if you talk to our person that manages our Shopify site, I mean, we've been somewhat pulling our hair out. It's, it sounds easy, but it's not. And I would say most of our traffic that we actually get on our Shopify site comes from Amazon.
Mm,
There is definitely a trend, and I don't know how you feel about this, I'd be curious, but um, we hear from Amazon customers all the time that say, "Hey, we saw you on Amazon, but we don't like dealing with Amazon anymore. So we popped over to we Googled your site, Zoco products, and we found your website, and we're gonna, can you take purchase orders and can we do ordering for you?" And we're like, absolutely. So that has, that's one big way. Um, the other ways are, require investments, which I haven't really decided to do yet. Do you want to do Google ads? Do you want to do a TikTok store? Do you want to do, social? Those are easy things to say. But if you don't know what doing, which is, you're going to be bleeding money. And,
true.
and, and so I'm kind of, one of the things I've always been, my wife and I feel kind of, feel the same is we've always been kind of a steady as she goes business. We haven't been a home run company. We like to take little singles and doubles along the way. Um, there are people that take bigger swings, at the ball. Um,
Slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so that's kind of it. But I'm curious as to, one of the things I would ask all your users and people is, on behalf of Amazon sellers like me, 50% of the sales that Amazon gets comes from private sellers like me. And so if you're on Amazon, take a minute to go, oh, I wonder if I can find this brand elsewhere and punch over to them, because I can tell you that if you usually you're going to get a better deal and you're going to get better customer service. And, you're just helping out the small seller. So,
Totally agree with that. Yeah. And the thing that a lot of businesses have is the hard like do I do meta ads and the TikTok shop and stuff is because a lot of times people put money into these things and they don't understand like ads is like gasoline to a vehicle, right? If it's a dumpster fire, you're just adding gasoline to the dumpster fire and people just burn money, so they really got to get the store and everything set up like a Ferrari, so then all they have to do is put gas in it and it runs really well. um, so I totally agree with that. That's like a big difference if you don't have good media buyers and stuff like that. If you don't know what you're doing, watch lots of YouTube videos. Make sure you practice with little increments at a time. Test something. And another thing is like a lot of people do is they put in like $1,000 into something that's not performing very well, that has a really low return on ad spend. And you don't have to do that much. You can spend like 35, $50. If the ad doesn't work, you kill it. You shut it off and you throw it away. And then you try a different ad, right? It's all about testing. Don't just go to somebody that's a freelancer and say, hey, make me a couple ad creatives, make me a landing page, and then that's it. And just assuming, hey, why is my money not working at this thing? It's like, no, no, no. You always got to update it. You always got to check it. You got to see what's new and upcoming. What are all the big converting companies doing on their landing pages, creatives, and stuff like that? I totally agree. It's definitely a full hands-on, thing. Um, and then Amazon on the other hand is just a giant in the space and is a great way to make money, and it's kind of not justified that they take such a big percentage, but it's their own marketing machine, and they do a killer job at delivery, ease of purchase, the wow, that was easy, I can't believe I bought that kind of a thing. um, so I'd love to get your input on that, on how you even again got to $1 million, because I know a lot of people have a lot of different products. It sounds like you kind of just had this one product and it just so happened to work.
mhm.
Why do you think that is compared to some people who have 50 different SKUs on Amazon, and half of them work.
Uh, well, I think we were, I think we didn't realize it, but we were solving a problem even early on. I mean, again, our first thing was, well, we had this product, the safety magnet, which was teaching about CPR. And it was like, okay, great. That's great for the babysitter or handing out around the neighborhood. And I think when the bell went off shortly thereafter, when we realized, wait a second, we're solving, we're solving a problem. And if you take a marketing class, you'll learn about the concept called shelf life. And shelf life means how long is your product going to be used, and how long is it going to be, uh, and when it comes to promotional products and marketing, you want something that's going to sustain and stay there. So again, if you're, you tell me, John, like, what promotional products have you received recently?
You mean like what kind of promotions go well?
Yeah,
Like
like
free gifts? Free gifts go well.
yeah,
Spend
like,
$100, get a free gift.
no, I mean, in real estate, you have real estate agents that probably come around your house and drop off their business card, or
Oh,
you've
I see what
probably
you're
got
saying.
a hat or a mug or something like that's got
Yeah.
somebody's logo on it. Like, what are the stuff? What's the stuff that you get?
All that kind of stuff. One guy that I actually got, which was really unique, is he's got it. He's a landscaping guy that he's been dropping. I've got his card a couple times now. Phenomenal marketing. It's just like a sheet of paper. It's not any kind of like cool fly or anything. It looks just like a sheeted piece of printer paper. And he printed out really nice print of like, hey, I'm trimming a tree down the street from you. If you want, I'll give me a call and I'll see if I can come by when I'm done over there. And I've gotten that same exact thing a couple times, so I know it's just a marketing thing. It's not like he's actually, intentionally doing that. But the way it comes across is very personable. And but promotional wise, I feel like that was really good. That was kind of off
So
track of what
where
you're saying,
so
but keep
where
going.
is that piece of no, no,
In
maybe.
the trash.
So
It's in
where?
the trash. There you
Yeah,
go.
it's
It's
in the
gone.
trash,
Yeah,
right? So
it's
if
in the
I give
trash.
you a magnet that's got John Klein services on it or whatever, right? And it's got CPR, and you have kids, like, you're going to put it on your refrigerator. And you know
Right.
what? CPR
Yeah.
doesn't really change that much. So it's going to be a permanent structure on your refrigerator. And that's shelf life. That's about the longest shelf life you're ever going to get from a promotional marketing product. So that name
Oh,
is
yeah.
going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
What's another one? Calendars, right? Calendars are great, but what happens at the end of the year with a calendar? It gets thrown away, right? So we offer products. So back to your question, when the bell went off, when we realized, wait a second, if we have a long-term message, if we have a message that's going to stay forever, like what to do for a natural disaster, tornadoes are not going away. So if I tell you that I have a refrigerator magnet that says, what do you need to do if you get a tornado watch or a tornado warning? Most people don't even understand the difference. I lived in the South and I know. So what do you do? Well, here's what you do. And by the way, this is sponsored by XYZ John Klein Real Estate Services, right? So um, we solved the problem. So now we have dozens of these types of products.
I love that.
Heat
Yeah.
stroke. What do you do for
Yeah.
heat stroke? I don't know. You drink water. All right. Well, you do more than just drink water. Um, what do you do for poisoning? What's poisonous for your dog? How do you do dog CPR? So you see what I
Yeah.
mean? You start going in that
Yeah.
direction, and all of a sudden, these are handout things for trade shows, right? Um, that's how you get to $1 million, because now people are saying, "Oh, that's a novel message. Who else is giving out promotional magnets on what to do for a tornado?" Well, guess what? Every city in every state that has a tornado problem, yeah, they're going to get it. Now, can they do it themselves? Sure. But are they going to spend the time to do the artwork and get all this stuff
Yeah.
together and keep the content relevant? No. So that's what we need to get out. That's what I feel passionate about, and that's what I mean about long shelf life.
Yeah, yeah, and it increases the, lifetime value of the customer too. That real estate agent is going to come back and buy more and more and more, of
That's
those
right.
promotional products, especially if they
It's a
work well versus
consumable.
the one-time purchase. The mom's only going to buy one of those to go on her fridge.
That's right. It's a
No, I definitely think that's great. Have you ever looked into like trade stuff, like on AC things? It's like troubleshoot your, AC is not working. Here's some troubleshooting things. and then it's
Yeah,
like
yeah. No, that's
at the
another
end
one we
it's like
have.
the
Hmm.
yeah,
We have a home maintenance one. We just put out that's done really well. Home maintenance checklist. Um,
yeah,
and so
that's
again,
smart.
yeah. So yeah, those it's not it's about looking at what the problem is that you're trying to solve. And we were fortunate enough to have product extension. Um, if you have another seller that's selling, I don't know, iPhone cases, um, and you're whatever, and you're selling them, then what you want to do on Amazon or really anything is you want to take that product and you want to go, how can I extend it and make it more relevant? So it's not just an iPhone case. When they first came out with magnets on the back, and they said, well, this charges as well. Okay, well, that was an extension. When they put it in leather and they have it as a, I don't know, I don't say iPhone this, but let's say it can for women, it can help with, self-defense because it's got like, mace or something on it, I don't know, but those are
Right.
extensions, marketing. Those are extension ideas. So that's how you can look at your products if you're a seller and you go, well, this is making money.
Yeah.
How can I morph it into something else? That's how you make money. And if you can't do that, then you need to do product, what products are close to that. What we sell crayons with our coloring books, right? Well, those are add-ons. And so
Yeah.
we realize
Increases
we
your
sell
like average
pencils
order
with our coloring
value.
books. Yeah, you got to increase your average order value. So that's the way that works.
I love that. I love that. I want to talk about some education. How do you educate yourself?
Well, this mastermind group is probably the most recent and most instructive thing I've done in a while. A lot of it is reading, reading a lot of forums, Wall Street Journal, a lot of there's everything's digital these days. Post on different forums. Most software companies that I use have some kind of blog or forum or something that I'm reading. The books, I know you asked me before about great books to read. I can't even remember the books that I've read, but they're all, most of it honestly is stuff that's I've kind of learned through my own experience, working with different people. I haven't really sat down a lot of, I'll tell you this. Again, I mentioned Six Sigma and Lean. I took a lot of Lean classes in Six Sigma back when I worked for Intel and Honeywell, the two big first companies I worked for, and learned those, learned that. And I think that's still coming even today. If you run a company, I would definitely recommend any book on those subjects. It's going to teach you how to problem solve. It's going to teach you how to, you're not going to be able to follow all the tools, and you don't need to. But again, things like FMEA, failure mode effective analysis, looking at root cause, figuring out, have I solved the root cause, and what's the severity of that problem? If I don't solve the problem, is it going to come back to bite me in the ass again? And if it does, then how do I control it? What mistake proofing can I put in place and make sure I tell my employees, okay, we made a mistake. We sent the buyer, the wrong product. All right. Well, what was the root cause? Root cause was, the first root cause could be, well, we used the wrong mailing label. Okay. Well, that's not the root cause. Root cause, what happened. But the root cause was what? Well, we messed up when we printed out from ShipStation. Okay. Well, that's still not the root cause. So this thing's called like the 5 whys. You ask the question 5 times. Why did this happen? Why did this happen? Why did this happen? Finally, you get to the root cause. Well, the root cause was um, the feed from Amazon to Shopify, excuse me, to ShipStation was broken. It had the wrong address. Okay, how is it corrected? And so anyway, I'm going on and on, but that's you know, and let's just say that happens once out of 1,000 times. Okay, well, it's not severe enough to really worry about. Whereas if it happened one out of every 10 times, it does. So that's data. That's how you go about working the issues. Sorry, getting
I love that. No, yeah.
yeah, all that stuff.
That's good.
Ask about the 5 whys. We didn't even talk about AI, but I mean, ChatGPT is like, unbelievable. I use it like the back of my hand. Um,
Yeah, tell me how you use AI to make money in your business.
well, we use it to make ourselves more efficient. Um, And, you know, I knew nothing about Python, writing, JavaScript, any anything, and I still don't really. I know enough to be dangerous. Now I can go into Google, I can go into ChatGPT, and I can say, "Hey, I have this problem," and everything about ChatGPT is how well you prompt it, and how you break the problem up. Um, and so we can pose a problem like, hey, it's something as simple as, like, hey, I need to download these reports and I need to write a script so that it's reading those reports and uploading it, so it's using it with this Google Sheet, and let's help me solve that problem, and you can get the process down, and that saves on time. It makes things more accurate. Um, we use it. My wife does a lot of listings and a lot of the listings management. I think that's the more classic case. We look at the keywords and say, hey, are the better keywords to use? So all that is on the front end of the business, but I'm mostly on the operation side, and so that's how it's used. Mm. Images. I mean, it's unbelievable. You could use it. If I tell the people that my employees that, like, if I'll always challenge them, did you use ChatGPT this? Well, what is ChatGPT? And and the more it learns about you, the better it's going to get at providing the answer. So that's some of the ways.
Yeah, no, and it's so great, and it's almost like if you send me a bad email, it's almost kind of like shame on you because
Yeah.
I mean you could have plug that into ChatGPT. If you send a client a
Right.
funny looking message that they don't understand, well, you should have put that into ChatGPT first and had it help you explain what you're trying to say. It's just such a great efficiency tool. I totally agree.
Plus, if you're in another culture, or another language, it's great for that. When you say, we have people overseas, and they'll write us up, and I'm like, yeah, the colloquialisms that you're using, it's not what we would say it in America, so put it back in a chat GPT and say you're using this for an American audience, and then that helps. So everything needs to be reset for that chat GPT type discussion. Yeah, I was just talking to somebody the other day. He's like, well, we're onboarding a new person, and I'm like, um, he's coming up to speed on Google Sheets. He's like, hey, I'm going to take this class, and I'm like, why are you taking a class? Like, and so I went to ChatGPT. I said, hey, I have somebody's onboarding. He needs to learn Google Sheets. I want him to learn about, this specific things, pivot tables, queries, etc. Write a homework assignment for him. Give him the training, write a homework assignment, and give him a test. And then all I did was, so in 10 seconds, I had it all. I took the link from ChatGPT, I sent it to the new person, and I said, follow this, and I want to see your results. That's it. We're done. And he's doing it right now. In fact, I'm talking to him later this afternoon. So, what would we have done before? 2 years ago, you would have gone, hey, take lynda.com and, get a class. And all right, I paid $50 a month, and now, I didn't really learn what I was supposed to, and blah, blah, blah. No, those days are gone.
Yeah, no, I love that. ChatGPT, phenomenal. And I'm really looking forward to new things. I mean, the agent mode is insane. The different things it can help do, and a lot of the, like Dan Martell is one of the guys that I follow, and he's really pushing like the let it do 98% of your work for you, and you're that like 2% creative part. And getting there is kind of like a stretch. In the future of like really high level people are going to be the ones that really know how to prompt ChatGPT in the way to get what they need, and to really communicate with AI to get out, what somebody needs. Because a lot of people will be like, "Oh, I've tried ChatGPT. It doesn't do what I want. It's crap." And it's like, well, it's not ChatGPT's fault. It's probably the prompting was not the best, right?
It's all about the prompting. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's all about the prompting.
one thing I've really realized over the last few months is that you start to learn the limitations of ChatGPT, because if you overwhelm it with a problem right off the bat, the chances are high that it's going to start breaking down at some point. So it's okay to start with where the context of the problem, like give it the background, like, hey, I need a process that's going to eliminate all my returns. Okay. Now, if you put that into ChatGPT, it's going to give you some very generic answer because it doesn't really know the details of what you're asking. So then what you need to go is say, that's the context, ChatGPT. But now get into the specifics. Hey, I get about 10 returns a day. Here's the data that I get back from them. Here's what it means. And we start with, do you understand what this means, Mr. ChatGPT? And then it'll say, no, actually, because you got to ask it, do you have any questions? Because it's not going to tell you, oh, I have questions. You got to say, first start, let me know if you have questions and what I'm asking. And then it'll say, yes, actually, I do have some questions. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we've gotten past the first pass. Now iterate. Okay, now that we're on the same page with what the data means, what would be your top 3 recommendations to do? Okay, 1, 2, and 3. All right, I like number 2. Let's go. Let's drill into that. So that is the prompting of it. And if you just take it at face value and you sit back and go, oh, this is what I need to do, it's going to send you on a wild goose chase. So you do have to have that human brain to go, yeah, that doesn't sound right, or ask it as how many hours am I going to have to spend if I follow your recommendation? It doesn't care. It's not going to tell you how many hours. It's got plenty of hours to deal with. You do learn that through the school of hard knocks, I guess.
I agree. I agree. I like that. If you had to start over again, you had $3,000 to start a business. What would you do?
Well, what would I do with only $3,000? I don't know. That's a good question. I think we would. I mean, what I know now is what I'm doing today. So I mean, if it was, I mean, we've come up with some other ideas. I'm not sure I want to share those ideas with you, honestly, but it would still within the business we're doing today. I mean, it would still be within the promotional products space. Um,
Well,
I can't really think of
even
what
if
I
it
would do.
was back in time, you had to restart this business. Tell me how would you allocate those funds? Would you first, you know,
Oh, okay.
pretty much take the 2,000 of it and go put it into buying some product and getting some stock? Would you do some drop shipping to test out the product first for Zoco products, maybe?
Um, Yeah, I think we wouldn't have really done anything too differently. I mean, I think it would be the great thing about our product, especially when we started, was we had no inventory. Um, and inventory is not something you want to have if you can avoid it. So when we did custom products, it was all made to order stuff, and that's the best thing. So I would have probably I would have maybe spent more of it on market research. Um, and trying to understand which products would resonate, um, rather than taking a longer time to kind of see what the market accepts. Especially today, I think unlike when we started, there's tons of ways to get market data and see how people react to your product without actually having to go through and produce it. So that's probably what I would do differently.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think, because actually I kind of want to rephrase this because I want to start asking this question more often and look more into most people have like a certain amount of funds that they've saved or set aside that they want to start a new business with. So I'd have to see like that might be, $10,000, it might be less. What is the least amount of funds you think needed to start if you needed to restart? What's the least amount of money you think you would need?
Well, if we're talking Amazon, geez, probably
And you
five
can
hundred
ballpark
dollars.
it.
Yeah, probably. I mean, if
100
you had
bucks?
one SKU that no, not 100. I would say 500
Yeah, you said
because you're going
500?
to have to do, yeah, because you're going to have to do advertising. I mean, it depends on what your goal is. There's nothing wrong with having it as a hobby. If you want to make 5, 10, $15,000 a year, pick a SKU and hopefully you can do a private label and figure out that is, that's actually another good thing. If you're on Amazon and you have a product that's starting to pick up, you're going to want to get it trademarked, um, because someone will come and eat your lunch if you don't. I mean, there's people out there monitoring Amazon all day long, and as soon as they see a spike in sales for any SKU, they're going to copy it. So you want to get it protected. So that's going to, you don't have to do that off the bat. You can start with $500 and do some advertising and some launching and some social maybe to get that aware, and then we've always been cash flow positive since we started. We never took on investors. We never went in debt. That's the way I like it. It depends on your own personal goals as to what your risk tolerance is.
I love that. I love that. Anything else you want to talk about? Anything you
I
want to
do.
throw
What?
in there on promotions?
Well, yeah, I probably should have said it at the beginning. Hopefully, people have stuck through the podcast to hear. And that is, just again, we're zocoproducts.com. We have a promotion right now. We lost the background that you could see the background in the first few minutes of our podcast here. But if you go to Zoco Products / spin to win, all one word, we're giving away different products. We're giving away free coloring books. We're giving away um, an opportunity to customize, do your own design. So our designers will work with you up to an hour to design your own product if you want. And so there's a bunch of other things that I think we're giving away some refrigerator magnets. So zocoproducts.com / play to win, and you'll see a big wheel and kind of you spin the wheel to get the prize. We'll have that
That
going on, I think, for another 3 or 4 weeks.
and that link will be in the description below if anybody
Okay,
needs it.
awesome.
And
Appreciate it.
so will links to get in contact with Peter, anything else like that. The link for Zoco products in general will be down below.
No, we're looking for people. If you think if you want to be a distributor, if you think you're qualified to do that, you like the product, we give referrals as well. So if you are in a company or a business and you know of somebody that's interested in our product, we'll be happy to offer you a referral bonus for bringing that company to us.
Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on and listening. This is the $100 Million podcast. We really appreciate you guys. Give Peter a follow. The links will be in the description below. Share this video with anybody that you think will find value in this content. And please, please subscribe and like. It really helps us out a lot. Thank you.